Hi everybody, welcome to Sports for All. I'm your host Aiden, and today I've got a really exciting guest. So do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me, first of all. My name's Sarah Browning. My pronouns are she, her. And I am, I'm a communications professional by training. I work freelance. I founded a wellbeing program that's all about kindness and inspiring people to see the kindness that already exists in the world, because there is a lot. And also, and I guess most relevant for our chat today, I'm the mum to a 17-year-old daughter who she's mad about football, has been since she was 6. She's just started her first full season with an adult women's football team. And so, that's a big part of my life as well. And I also, not because of my daughter, but my daughter playing football sort of enhances this. I'm also a big fan of women's football generally, the Lionesses, etc., etc. So, there's a lot of sport that comes into my life in that way, as it were.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah. That's a great introduction. I'm so excited for our chat. So my first question is, do you want to tell everybody a bit about like the sports background, maybe like how your daughter got involved, how you got involved as a sports mom, and how kind of you've been, yeah, what that journey's been like so far, I guess. Maybe also if you've been involved in any sports as well.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's funny because when you first sent me these questions and I was thinking about my own sports background, as it were, my initial reaction was, I'm not sporty and I have never been sporty. But when I thought about it, I thought actually I did play netball for school. I think I was in something like the C team, so I wasn't very good. I did play netball and I also danced. I loved dancing, particularly up until I was when I was primary age, really, so up to about 11-ish. My friend and I won a national dance competition when we were 7. So that was very exciting. So I sort of had sports in my background, but in a very low sort of level way, as it were. I went to an all-girls school. We played netball, we played hockey, we had gym lessons. That was it. There was nothing broader than that in sports terms. And so I didn't play football. And really it was because it never really occurred to me I would want to. Obviously, I'm of an age. I was growing up in the 80s, and girls' football just wasn't a thing. For me, football was the thing that boys did. We'd go and watch my dad play. It just never even occurred to me. Whereas for my daughter, so she's 17 now, and she did when she was, I don't know, 4 or 5, maybe. I took her along to ballet lessons, and that was okay. But it became apparent quite quickly that it wasn't really her thing.
Yeah.
Particularly, I think that the thing that really for her was because ballet lessons at the beginning, there's a lot of learning technique.
Yeah, it's quite
Yeah, sort of repetitive, those things. There just wasn't enough movement, really, quite honestly. And she's always been very active. She loves climbing trees, all of those kinds of things. And so became aware. I should also say, so my husband is a huge. He has not been a football player himself, but he's a massive fan. He has a club that he and his family have supported for decades, and so we were a football family in the sense that we would go and watch. I guess there was football around, but genuinely he didn't influence her to become a footballer. But we happened to see there was a local the leisure centre. They were putting on futsal, which is indoor football for younger children. So we went along to that, and like I said, I think she was 6. She absolutely loved it, and really, it's been a huge part of her life ever since. She kind of just from those early days where, I mean, the football coaches with 6-year-olds, young children like that, it's basically crowd control.
yeah.
And that's what it should be. It's having fun and kicking a ball
Just
about.
running around.
Exactly, absolutely, and just kind of a fun thing to do. And then I think she was probably 8, 9, that sort of age. Where we live, we're very lucky. There are actually quite a lot of girls' football teams, relatively speaking. She's at an age, I think, where she's managed to kind of catch the wave of the growth of women's football.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So at that sort of 8 or 9, she started playing for a girls' football team. The futsal thing was mixed, but she started playing for a girls' football team outside, outdoors, and then stayed with them until the team folded this summer just gone, because the girls had got to 16, 17, and not enough of them wanted to carry on because, of course, other things start to kind of come in, don't they? Jobs, interest, all of that stuff. And some of them did, and my daughter was one of them. So she now has started playing with an adult women's team. So, you know, as a football mum, I've spent a lot of time standing on the edge of muddy
Cold and rain.
absolutely essential kit of a large umbrella and really warm socks, those kinds of things. And I genuinely, you know, I do, you know, I want to be there to support my daughter, but also, you know, I do enjoy football. I'm not quite the obsessive fan that my husband is, but nevertheless, I do like the game and so on. And sort of alongside that, what has been great is because women's football has grown, we have been able to take her in person to women's football matches, including kind of club and country. You know, we've seen the Lionesses play a lot. So that I think has been great for her to have that to look at as well.
Yeah, definitely. I so agree. I think it's really like over the last couple of years, especially like just like shoot it up. It's really interesting what you were saying about her starting with ballet because I also started with ballet and it was just
Ah,
not enough for me. I was like, I need to be like doing more. So then I started taekwondo and then yeah.
ah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Again, it's finding the thing that's right for you, isn't it? I think.
Definitely, it's so important, and especially like when you're younger as well. Like you just try a lot. Like I remember I tried quite a lot, and finding that one thing that fits was just like yes,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
good.
absolutely. Exactly. My daughter was also very lucky. At her primary school, they had a couple of teachers who were very into sport and particularly girls' sport as well. So there was a lot of support within that and encouragement. And they did exactly that. They had all sorts of different sports that they brought in for them to try different things and so on. So that, like you say, that really helps, doesn't it, to try different things and see, you know, what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, definitely, and it allows you to yeah see what you or maybe you try something for quite a while and then you might find something that you really, really, really like. Like I did gymnastics as well, and I'd still love to be able to do all those flips and stuff. But I think you normally, I don't know, there's so much else going on. I think you normally like go into one kind of, yeah, sidetrack into one, especially if you want to take it more seriously as well. But yeah. Okay, my next question, which is kind of slightly off, bit different, but what is your biggest inspirations been in sports, but also like more in general as well? I feel like this is a big one.
Yeah. It is absolutely, absolutely. And I think for me, I've always been inspired by people who do things a bit differently, who look at, you know, things the way that things are currently being done in the world or whatever, and think, actually, why are we doing it like that? Let's
Yeah.
do it a different way. We could try it differently. And I guess in some ways that kind of then connects then to women's sport in particular, with, you know, particularly, as I said, you know, we're big fans of the Lionesses and, you know, doing things differently, um, which it shouldn't be, should it? Really, they're playing
No.
football. It shouldn't be doing things differently. And yet, you know, there is that kind of burst that comes through that is quite sort of inspiring. And I've found, so I mentioned that we take our daughter to, we have taken her to things since she was really young. Um, we She chose Chelsea as her football team because of a family friend who was slightly older than her, and he talked about Chelsea. So originally that's what it was. It was that, oh, you know, our friend talks about Chelsea, I'm going to follow them too. But luckily they used to play in a ground not very far from where we live. They're a bit further away now, but it was literally half an hour on the train line. So we used to take her there, and she got to be a mascot for them, a match day mascot for them when she was 9, I think 9 or 10. And because she needed a female guardian to go with her into the changing rooms to meet them, I got to go and meet them
Oh,
too. And what was really interesting, so we're talking kind of 7 or 8 years ago, so kind of just as it was starting to grow, but before
yeah.
it, you know, the success of Lionesses and what have you. And it was really interesting talking to the players because they knew that they were role models. They understood that they could be something that they themselves hadn't had. And
Yeah.
they weren't that much older than her. They were, maybe 10 years older than her, but they knew that things were changing and that they had that sort of that role really. And that is what's been great. I mean, they inspire me as well as a woman. We were we were lucky enough to go to the Euros final when they won at Wembley in 2022. And the whole of that, so my daughter was 14 at the time. I spent the whole tournament saying, "Oh, it's so great for her because she gets to see that her passion matters and she's, what she loves is the higher profile." And I'd been saying that the whole time. And then on the day of the final, we got to Wembley. We come out of the tube, and you've got like the steps down, and then the Wembley Way is kind of stretches out in front of you up to the stadium. And of course, it was absolutely rammed. There were tens of thousands of people there. I burst into tears,
Oh,
much to my daughter's kind of hilarity, really. I burst into tears because I just thought, wow, all these people are here because of something that women are doing. And it shows us that women matter, that we matter, that I matter. And I think it was at that moment I thought, yeah, this isn't just about the teenagers and the kids. This is about all of us. And
yeah.
I just found that, yeah, as I say, she did, my daughter did, she instituted a mum's crying count that day. I think it got up to about 10 and she stopped counting. But I think it's because she understands it's a big deal that it's growing,
Yeah.
but she doesn't understand it in the same way that I do. Because, like I said, when I was growing up, it just
It
wasn't a thing.
wasn't.
I mean, women were playing football, it turns out, but we didn't know that. We didn't talk about it. So to see how far it's come, and I think what inspires me really is that it's not just about what they do on the pitch, that they talk about things. And obviously we're recording just after the Red Roses have won the World Cup, which is also incredibly exciting. And again, they talk about things beyond their sport. They talk about body image and all sorts of different things. And for me, I think that's what I find inspiring, when you recognize that the world is about all sorts of things, and the influence you can have is about much more than just your sport, the thing that you love, which is fundamental to who you are, but then you can talk about other things too.
Yeah, I so agree. I think it's so amazing how things have like progressed so quickly and so positively, and also in so many like parts of the world as well, which has been really nice because I've had like guests on here from all different parts of the world, and they're
Uh-huh.
kind of saying similar things about how like it's kind of nicely progressed for women and for young girls, and it's just really heartwarming and nice to hear.
Yeah,
Um, yes.
yeah, yeah. I agree. And there's that thing, isn't there, in any walk of life, where if you can see it, you can be it. And that's so true, isn't it? Because there was a time when my daughter, in fact, when she was a mascot for Chelsea, the then captain, Katie Chapman, said to her, "Oh, I mean, she was lovely with her. She was sort of chatting to her, and my daughter said to her, I want to have your job when I grow up." And she said to her, "Yeah, brilliant, great. What are you, what are you doing now?" And we talked to her about playing with her school team and that sort of thing. And although she doesn't have the level of skill and probably didn't start young enough now to get to that level, she was the captain of her school football team at secondary school. And so again, because she'd seen it, she knew it was a thing. So she knew
Yeah.
she could aspire to it. And if you can't see it, it's not that you can't do it at all, but it makes it
It
harder for you
makes
to.
it more challenging. Yeah, you don't feel like that's kind of in your reach or like in your remit to be able to do something
Yes,
at that level or
yeah,
in
yeah.
that skill
Obviously, you
set.
can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Amazing. So my next question is, what do you think are some of the key skills that young people can learn from getting involved in sport, and how do you think that can help them in their lives? Another big
Yeah,
question.
and it's a great question, isn't it? Because I think it's so important to recognize, isn't it? I think that there is more than just the skills to kick a ball or throw a ball
Yeah.
or carry out a move in taekwondo or whatever. There is so much more. And I think it's things. So one of the things I was thinking about this, and I thought one of the things is about communication and and team skills, which I guess is obvious if it's a team sport. But even if it's an individual sport, you're not. Even if you're performing on your own, you're not entirely on your own because you've got coaches, you've got fellow competitors, you've got your family. There's
Yeah.
lots of people involved, isn't there? So I think that kind of learning to communicate, and particularly, I mean, for my daughter, the youth team she was part of, the girls came from 4 or 5 different local schools, so they didn't know each other apart from through the football, so they had to kind of get to know each other and learn to work together and that sort of thing. So I think that's a really, and if you think about then the working world, for example, communication skills and being able to work with others is so important. There isn't really anything you do job wise when you're not going to need to know how to get on with other people, at
Yeah,
least at
absolutely.
some level. So that I think that's really important. I think another one, and I guess it's connected to that as well, is leadership. And I think even if, yes, it's obvious you're going to be a leader if you're a captain, but actually, even if you're not the captain, you can be a leader
Yeah.
on or whatever, depending on your experience. There's always going to be somebody who's done something before and kind of can use that leadership experience. And decision making, I think, is the other thing. You have your coach and you have your support and everything, but when it comes to the actual match or the actual fight or the whatever, you're the one that has to make the decisions, aren't you? You have to take what you've been taught and use that. And again, in working life, that's going to be really important, to be able to, yes, learn from others, but also in the moment kind of make the decisions and the big decisions that you have to make. So I think that's just that kind of confidence, I guess, you can get in yourself as well, to be able to make those decisions. The other one that I have to say is very current for me, because my daughter's match was called off yesterday because of the weather, is resilience.
Yeah.
And when people talk about resilience with sport, quite often they're talking about resilience about kind of winning and losing,
Yeah.
and kind of get up and go again and that sort of thing. And that is part of it. But I think there's other things around it, and certainly for grassroots football, the resilience in, you thought you were going to play and you were really looking forward to it, and then it rained and you couldn't.
Yeah.
That happens a lot over the years. I think there are just so many, and I guess that's all thinking of transferable skills that are relative to kind of going to the workplace. But actually, there's also things around your own mental health and
Yeah.
well-being, and learning to just do things because it's fun.
Yeah.
If you come through an education system, which certainly, if you're over here in the UK, you would have done, which is all about results and
Yeah.
exams, doing things for a purpose in that sense, actually learning to do something that's just fun. I think that's really important as well.
It really is, and I think people just don't do enough of it.
Yeah.
We just get quite yeah, I don't know, things just get a lot, and I think sometimes there just needs to be more fun in our
Yeah.
lives and take
Yeah.
those things seriously. Yeah, and that also about that risk taking and decision making piece, I think like just trying and just going for it. What's the worst that's gonna happen?
Yeah, exactly. That's it, isn't it? It's that sort of and yeah, and trusting yourself, like you say, to kind of make those decisions and just recognize what's good for you is isn't something we get encouraged to do very often.
No, absolutely not. But definitely needs to be implemented more. So my next question is, do you want to tell us a bit about the Time for Kindness program and its mission? And maybe also how do you think sporting environments can be more kind and inclusive and welcoming of people from different backgrounds?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, so the Time to Kindness program is something that I set up 4 or 5 years ago. It came about because I was sort of, I think, as a lot of us were thinking around sort of 2020, 21, like, what on earth
Yeah.
is going on in the world? what's important, that sort of thing. And it was at that point that I thought, do you know what, kindness is really important to me. And more than that, I think there's lots of kindness in the world already. We just don't talk about it enough yet.
Absolutely.
Clearly, there's horrible things going on too, and I'm not denying that. But what I say with Time for Kindness is that that's not the only story, and we need to
Yeah.
remember, kind of rebalance what we know about the world for all sorts of reasons. And not least because it makes us feel more positive and hopeful as people. And then if we feel better, then we can do more and we can continue to make the world a better place. So that's kind of where it came from, and it's evolved in. So as part of that, what I now do is I share examples of real life kindness. I'm across social media. I'm lucky enough to have a social media manager that works with me and publishes stories for me every day. And it's just, little examples of letting somebody go in front of you in the supermarket, or holding a door open for somebody, giving a seat up on public transport. So I'm showing people that kindness doesn't have to be huge, and often it isn't. Often it's in those smaller interactions. And I now run workshops and I give talks to teach people the habits to notice kindness, because what became apparent is it comes much easier to some of us than others.
Yeah.
And so there are habits you can learn. They're not rocket science, but just you can get yourself into those habits to see what's around you. And so we do, as the stories that we share every day come from all different. So there are things that I see, there are things that my social media manager sees, but also people send us stories. We have submission forms and whatnot, and they come from all sorts of different areas, different people, different parts of people's lives. And so we do sometimes get them coming through sport, and some of it might be. We had one where there was a football club that don't have a setup such that they can charge people to come to their games, even though they're at a level where they'd be entitled to. So instead, they get people to bring something to go to the local food bank. So they end up with kind of collections of lots of food, and they take it to the food bank. So there's some of those sorts of things. Examples of people in sporting world helping each other, whether that's sort of the formal coaching route or if it's helping a competitor. Sometimes you get those stories, don't you, where somebody was going to win the race and they realized one of their fellow competitors was in trouble, so they stopped and helped them so that they could get across the line. All those sorts of things. I can't remember who they were, but I think they were high jumpers at the Olympics, and they decided to share the gold medal because they'd both done so well and they just couldn't. So those sorts of things, I think. But I think one of the things you said about sort of being more inclusive and kind within sporting environments, I think one of the things that sport gives you the opportunity to do is to recognise, and again, particularly in team sports, but I think it applies in others as well, that everyone is different and everyone brings different skills. And actually, you don't all have to be the same. And in fact, you don't want everyone to be the same. And we mentioned the Red Roses having just won the World Cup. I decided to watch their matches. It's a wrong shaped ball for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch it because I was excited about it being women, essentially, and that's
Exactly.
my profile. So I was like, I'm going to watch it. And actually, the more I watched it, the kind of more I wouldn't at all say I understand the game. There's still plenty that's a mystery, but I did pick things up and I got to know things. And what really struck me is that they are very different in terms of the role that they play within a rugby team, and therefore the skills they need to have, the shape they need to be, the size, all of those things. And they wouldn't be successful if they all looked like the ones in the
The
front row,
same. Yeah.
or the ones at the back. I mean, they have to all be different. I think that's a really important thing. And I think the other bit that strikes me as well that you can get from sport, it's inevitable that mistakes get made, things might go a bit wrong, there might be things that don't go quite as you meant them to, but again, it gives you the opportunity to recognize that sort of thing happens, but you don't people, um, you can be, what's the word, sort of supportive to each other. You don't have to get, I mean, I know they do get a bit cross with each other sometimes, but generally recognizing that's just part of life. That's just what
Yeah.
happens. And you don't have to sort of ostracize someone because they did something that didn't go quite right or whatever. So I think, yeah, I think there's kind of kindness and the potential for inclusion in those sorts of approaches as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you got me thinking a bit about like my own club. Like obviously taekwondo is like quite an individual sport,
Yeah,
but I think everybody just like you kind of bring different things to the club. Obviously, everybody's different, but like
yeah,
some people might go down the coaching route, or some like might want to compete more, or
yeah,
some might, you know, and there's
yeah,
different like variations within that. So I think, yeah, you're so right. Like everybody brings something different, and
yeah,
like making the
yeah,
most out of that as a group and as a club is like so, so
yeah.
important.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess what you're saying there about coaches actually has made me think as well. Coaches can be inclusive in the sense of recognizing what different people need from coaching and the kind of different style of coaching that people need to bring out the best in them, rather than just, oh, this is how it's done, and if you
Yeah.
don't follow it, then there's something wrong with you. Well,
Yeah.
you need to sort of adapt that style, and that's what the best coaches do, I think, isn't it? And they recognize that you're a person and you're an individual, not just a player or a runner or whatever. That they kind of, that whole, looking at the whole picture.
Yeah, definitely that was so, so important. And I know like the best coaches for me have done that. Like they really valued me and what I can bring and yeah,
Yeah,
like seeing my strength as a strength.
yeah,
Yeah, it's so, so
yeah.
important. So my last question is, do you have any advice for young people, like young girls wanting to get involved in sport, but who might not have the confidence? Quite a big question to end on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's some of what we were saying at the start actually around um trying lots of different things, and sort of trying not to sort of limit your idea of what sport is, because there are so many different things that you could try. And even think, so my what I my sport now is that I love aerobics, and I go to Zumba classes, I go to dance aerobics classes. So it kind of, I can see it brings in some of what I used to love about dancing, and sort of takes it to something else. So I think it's kind of try and bear that in mind, try and try out lots of different things. And if you don't like the first thing that you try, or it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean you're not sporty and it's
Yeah.
not for you. It just means that that particular sport, that particular one, is not for you. And I was thinking about, and I was thinking actually another idea might be as well to think about why do you want to start sport? What is
Yeah.
it you want to get from it? Are you looking to win the World Cup? Are you looking to become the best at something? Or are you looking for something that's sociable? Are you looking to sort of make friends? And there are lots of sports. I have a friend who plays badminton, and actually that is an incredible, at the level he's sort of playing at, is an incredibly sociable thing. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
they don't play, but they always go for a drink afterwards, or
Yeah.
they always go for something to eat afterwards. I think if you're a bit clearer on, or is it about your health? Is there something you want to, get involved with sport to help with your health? I think if you're clear on what it is you want to get out of it, not in a restrictive way, but just to give you a bit of guidance, then that might help you say, well, that sport isn't going to give me that, so that's not for me, but that one might do. And it just might help you, rather than it being this sort of big overwhelming thing, to sort of narrow it down a little bit. And then the last thing I think is, and this is really hard, but just try to remember that everyone feels unconfident at some
Yeah.
point, even if they don't look it.
Yeah.
That
You can
actually
fake
everyone,
it so easy.
yeah, exactly that. And often, actually, it's the people who seem most confident that are the least underneath. They're just sort of trying to cover it up. So, taking those first steps can feel huge, but once you get started, it starts to get easier. And yeah, like I say, remembering that you're not alone, even when you feel that way. If you can just kind of get past that first barrier, then you can get all sorts from sport.
Yeah, I so agree. I think taking that first step is like the hardest. It's the one that's gonna get you going.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And if you don't like it, you can always stop. You
Yeah,
know, you can step back from it. So yeah, but that is hard to do. I know that's hard. So it's sort of taking baby steps sometimes, isn't it?
yeah, absolutely. We have to start somewhere.
Exactly.
Well, that's been such a great conversation. Thank you so much, Sarah. I've loved chatting to you. It's been really great.
Me too. No, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you. And I love what you're doing with your podcast. So keep it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne, and be sure to check out all the other amazing podcasts on Be the Change Media Network.